Hi, my name is Thomas Johnson, and I'm the founder and CEO of GetUpNGetFit Wellness Coaching Concierge. I'm also a C-suite advisor and investor, and you're listening to How May I Serve You, where I'm constantly on the quest to surround myself with the best coaches while looking how to better serve our executive clientele by asking them, how may I serve you? Today's show is sponsored by GetUpNGetFit, and GetUpNGetFit will be providing students with textbooks and school supplies in Cambodia in honor of our guest today, as well as our philanthropic mission to impact at least 50,000 people per year. And today's guest is Jessica Schneider. Jessica, how you doing?
I'm great, thanks.
Awesome.
It's a privilege to be here.
Awesome. Welcome, welcome. So Jessica combines her experiences as a small business owner, non-profit leadership roles with her passion for coaching to work with leaders holistically to help them become conscious, purposeful influencers of building healthy cultures, organizations, and communities. Her diverse coach training is resiliency, neuroscience, intuition, tapping, integrative nutrition, leadership, business, which makes her adaptable and a connector to untapped potential, purpose, and inspiration. Jessica, woo, let's go.
That's it's so interesting to hear that fed back to you. So thank you for giving me that gift. And I just so acknowledge you and the positive influencer that you are in trying to make the world a better place through all that you do.
Thank you, Jessica. I really appreciate that. So let's dive into this podcast right now. Okay. Let's learn a little bit about you. All right. What's your story? Tell us about yourself, the 2-minute version.
You know, I was in a meeting a number of years ago, and there was a really beautiful introduction, and that you introduce yourself as how you want to be known. And it came from an Indigenous elder who was sharing this idea. So I want to be known as somebody who leaves every room better than when I walked in. I want to leave a legacy of goodness. I want to be a capacity builder for community. I want to be one who lives a life of inspiration, impact, and supports others in doing the same, whether that's as a mother, as a friend, as a professional. I'm an adventurer. I have traveled the world on horseback, ridden across the Niger Desert, through the mountains of Chile. I've skied some of the most intense terrain in the world. Ooh. I'm a lifelong learner.
Okay.
I'm a believer and student of conscious capitalism, knowing that business can be a force for good. But at my core, I just believe that we are all here to use our knowledge and our gifts and our passion to make the world a better place. I think that's a common human truth. And that's what gets me out of bed every single day, being able to live and step into that.
That's powerful right there. That is powerful. Nice, nice. So I want us to dive a little further back, okay? Where are you from? Okay, and how did you get started?
I'm a Canadian. I live in Calgary, Alberta. And how did I get started? I was one of those people who never knew what they wanted to be when they grew up. Always kind of searching and seeking. And I was a small business owner. I raised my children. And then I just knew there was more. And there was something pulling me and calling me, and I didn't know what it was. And literally, I got an intuitive hit that coaching was the place to start. So that was the beginning of my journey in coaching. In parallel with that, I had some health issues and multiple health issues. And then one was a severe head injury. And that then influenced really my coaching path moving forward, because I had to become my own advocate, my own experimenter, in terms of finding my ways to heal and recover and build new neural pathways and create the life that I wanted.
Wow, that's powerful right there. Yeah, normally I ask about how our guest normally gets how they normally got started, right? And that's a perfect start right there. So you hit your head, and so what happened afterwards? How did this injury occur? Now I'm even more curious.
In fact, I never hit my head. I was
Okay.
playing pickup hockey with my son, and I was Bambi on ice, looking down at the puck, competitive mom. I don't know how to skate, but I was still determined to win, kids versus parents. And my son collided with me, and I didn't see it coming. So I didn't have that visceral tension in my body to protect myself. And so I had a big snap of the neck back and forward. And
Wow.
I was lower functioning than somebody who'd been put through a windshield without a seatbelt, but I never hit my head.
Okay. Wow. Thanks for correcting that and giving us further explanation. Wow. All right. So that happened, and then you found your way towards coaching. Like, can you give us more of your journey towards coaching? How did you stumble upon coaching though?
Yeah. So the head injury was just coaching and the training that I did, the neuroscience training, the different healing modalities, my Qigong training, the heart math, all of those things were a byproduct of influencing the kind of work I did within my coaching. But that's not really what I intended when I started out. And why coaching? I think that was your original question. What drew me to that?
Yeah. How did you get into coaching?
Because it allowed me to step into where my gifts and my zone of genius is. And it really allowed me to express everything that I believe and that I see as possible. And one of my gifts in this world is seeing the potential that lives inside other people that they can't see in themselves. And although I'm very good at that for others, it's probably one of my biggest personal struggles is seeing my own genius and my gifts. And I just know that there's so much possibility available to us when we start to see and understand the value that we bring to the world and how we want to express that. Who are we? What do we want to do? What are the gifts and skills and strengths we bring to this world, and what impact that we want to make? And so being able to hold the container and support people in that conversation and in that journey, I couldn't think of a better job.
Yes, indeed. So now, who do you coach? Right now, you've stumbled upon coaching. You found your passion, right? Your sweet spot. Who do you coach?
I'm a leadership coach. My dream is to work with aspiring change makers, whether they're executives, leaders, business owners, and I help provide them with the purpose and confidence and clarity and strategy and the resilience that they need to get to where they want to go, so they can become that living legacy that they've always wanted to become, so they can be that influencer and create that positive impact that resides inside of them.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great right there. And you mentioned earlier that you utilize neuroscience, right? How do you integrate neuroscience with your coaching modalities?
Well, there's a couple things that I do in my coaching. I kind of imagine it like a river bank.
Okay.
On one side of the one bank is where is purpose and building that purposeful brand. Who are you? What do you want to do? What are the gifts that you bring to this world? And how do you want to express that? Because that's the fuel that drives us. So that's one river bank. The other bank of the river is the resilience piece. And that's the piece that gives us the ability to go and get to where we want to go. And the neuroscience feeds into that. So neuroscience is one dimension of being able to help build that resilience and that capacity and that agency to go and do the things that we want to do. And then everything else falls in between those two banks. All the rest of the coaching falls. These are kind of the anchors and the pillars that guide us, that give us the power. And then whatever a client's personal goals and objectives are, lie within that.
Awesome. I love those descriptors in that analogy. I'm very visual, so I'm able to picture that in my mind right now. So that's awesome. So there are so many different types of coaches and coaching styles, right? How would you describe your coaching style?
Can I reframe that a little bit and say, maybe what are my gifts as a coach?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Yeah. So, you know what? Everything I do is with the intention of kindness and grace, I'm very supportive of my clients. Equally, I'm a big challenger.
Okay.
And although I am kind, I'm quite direct and very insightful, and sometimes intimidating at times for people because I see things they don't otherwise see. But it's all wrapped with kindness and tremendous amount of support. And I think really my gifts are as a coach is my innate ability to make connections. And I can take disparate ideas, things from all over the place, this diverse side of me, and bring them into a concise, powerful framework for that person. I make those internal connections. I help them connect to a bigger picture, a community, whatever those needs are. And I'm also a good mirror. And when I listen, I hear so much more than the words. And I'm able to reflect that to people so they see things that they've never been able to see before. And it's not necessarily something completely different. It can be just a small shift, a small insight that can have a huge impact.
A different perspective. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Awesome. So if someone was looking for a coach, right, what traits would you advise for them to look for?
Coaching is a very personal journey. And what you need at one point in time in your life is going to be different than what you need at a different time in your life. Or it's so honor where you are and find somebody that you resonate with. And resonating with somebody doesn't mean that you're not looking for your coach to be your friend or to be just like you. You want somebody who is going to stretch you, who's going to support you, and who's going to challenge you and give you the skills and tools that you need to get to that next level. And I also think that what's really important is to understand that coaching is an unregulated industry. And anybody can walk out the door and call themselves a coach. And there are regulatory bodies like the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, which I'm a part of, which means I've done oral testing, written testing, ongoing training, mentorship hours, all of those things. And I've invested deeply in my coach training. And that's not to say I'm a better coach than the person who doesn't have, who just wakes up one day and says, I'm a coach. It doesn't mean I'm better. But equally, it's really important to understand that it is a big, diverse field, and do your due diligence and make sure that the person is the right fit for you. Get some referrals, get some recommendations, and ensure they're what you need and what you're looking for.
Yes, indeed. You definitely covered all aspects right there. Awesome. So now it's storytelling time. I love stories, right? So I want you to give me a 2 to 3 minute story of a time where you help one of your clients overcome a hurdle, right? An obstacle. Give me a success story.
Well, I never like to be limited to one, so you might hear a couple. There's numerous. One that stands out for me was at the very beginning of my career. An extraordinary woman. She had been working in corporate. We were in an economic downturn. We were losing 3,000 jobs a day in our city. The city was decimated. So getting back to work was really difficult. She's a very unassuming woman, very kind. She'd been beaten up in the workplace, a lot of emotional stress, a lot of toxicity. Her self-esteem was low. And we were working on building her personal brand and helping her get back to work. She was getting a lot of rejection from HR managers. You know, people were getting 2,000 applications a day for one job because our market was so tight. And as she was talking to me, she just kind of off the cuff said, you know, Jessica, I can save $1 to $3 a barrel of oil just in data management. I can save a company that. And I paused and I was like, well, what does a small oil and gas firm produce in a year in oil and gas? And she's like, well, about minimum 17 million barrels. So right there, I said to her, I'm like, you're a $17 million value proposition. And her whole disposition changed. And she went from getting rejected at HR managers time and time again to cold calling CEOs in the US with her pitch that she was a minimum $17 million value proposition. They flew up from Texas and built out a division in an existing company just based on her pitch. And she was part of getting a $200 million deal on the table.
Wow.
And nothing had changed. Her resume had not changed. Her background had not changed. Her story had not changed. How she saw herself and the value of what she brought to the table had changed. And I use that as an example because you've got these big monetary numbers that can reflect that insight. So she's an extraordinary woman, and that was just such a highlight for me. But really success is not always in those big things. It can be in those micro moments, those little shifts when people have those insights that have those big impacts in their life. One of my clients, he was just waiting to get through to retirement. He'd had a successful business, but he couldn't wait to start his life until he finished his career. And I'm like, well, why? Like, what are your big dreams? And he started to talk to me about those. And he wanted to take time off and ski all over the Canadian Rockies. He wanted to volunteer and become a big brother. And when I challenged him or invited him to consider that he didn't have to wait another 8 years to start that journey, he started to realize it was possible. Within a few months, he'd taken 6 weeks off of work, traveling through the Canadian Rockies. He'd volunteered and became a mentor and a big brother to a local organization. And I remember, and then unfortunately, not long after that, he unexpectedly passed away.
Oh, wow.
So the email that is so sacred to me is, I'm sitting in the top of this cabin looking out over the mountains, and I'm the happiest that I've ever been in my life. And I owe it to you.
Wow.
I owe it all to you. And I feel so honored and privileged to have been a catalyst with him, to be able to start living those bigger dreams that he hadn't even thought about. And that was his experience in the last year of his life. And he proposed to his longtime partner.
Wow, Jessica, I'm over here sitting there with goosebumps. I'm over here sitting there with goosebumps. Both of those stories just sent like a ripple through my body. You were able to change these people's lives just by, like you said, having them pivot their mentality, their mindset. And just by doing that, you were able to create tremendous change in their lives. That's amazing. This is why I love having this podcast. This is why I love having these conversations, because these stories need to be heard, right? Your story is amazing. It's amazing. You are absolutely sitting in your path, your journey, your goal, your strength. You're doing it. you're living your truth. And that's amazing.
And I get to do that so other people can live in their story and their journey and their genius. Because I believe, like, truly the common human truth is that we all want to make a positive impact in this world, but sometimes we forget and we don't hear that voice. And so to be a catalyst for that conversation and that opportunity, I feel so honored and privileged to be able to be here and do what I do.
Amen.
But we all have that within us. It might be expressed in a different way, but it's not that I'm exceptional. It's finding that exceptional, that extraordinary inside our ordinary that is just so inspiring.
Yes, indeed. You know, something I like to say all the time, we all have limitless potential, right? And it's all about tapping in. It's about tapping in, you know? So Jessica, what drives you?
As a little girl, I always said I wanted to change the world. And I never knew what that meant. And I never knew how I was going to do that. But for some reason, at a very young age, I thought Nelson Mandela was extraordinary. I thought Gandhi was extraordinary, but I didn't even know who they were. But there was something energetically that I was drawn to in those people. And over time, I've come to realize the change in the world is started in my own personal journey and becoming that positive ripple. And as I become better and I have more clarity and authenticity and passion and drive, then I get to be that ripple in my family, in my community, in organizations, in my work, and however I show up. So what drives me is making the world a bit better every single day. That's what drives me.
I love that answer. I love that answer. Making the world a bit better every single day.
In the way that I can.
That's awesome. So, are you currently working on any new projects right now that you could share with us?
Yeah, I've got a couple projects on the go. I've been working on. I'm working with a really inspiring group of people around conscious capitalism. We're building out individual purpose and how to bring purpose into organizations, and then how that influences stakeholders and bringing that value to all stakeholders, and really wanting to support leaders and organizations and just doing that small pivot about how can they use their business to make the world a bit better. How can they be a force for good? And not all organizations are designed to be B Corps or social enterprises, but that doesn't mean they can't be influencers for good and more conscious and more aware and do micro changes that are going to create a positive ripple effect. And in addition to that, it's good business. So that's one of my really exciting projects that I'm so inspired to collaborate and work with a great team of people on. And then, I love right now, just because of my neuroscience journey or my brain injury, I've been doing a lot of neurofeedback. And what's so interesting is this neurofeedback has taken me from, say, a place of operating at a 3 out of 10 from a brain function up to 7, 8. And I still have a ways I can still go to 11. But this neurofeedback can take people who are high performers, who are not at a deficit like me, and up level that. So from a leadership perspective, being able to combine modern technology and refine and fine tune the capacity of the brain, along with the skills and vision and goals that people need and want to get to where they want to go. So it's a partnership. And I find that work really exciting too.
Yeah, that sounds pretty amazing. So how can one participate in this neurofeedback? They have to apply for your coaching, I assume, correct?
Yeah, there's in order to be able to work with the neurofeedback, that's not something that I do. There are specialists for that. So it's in partnership with some of these specialists. So I work locally with a gentleman, Dr. Corey Deacon. And that said, through him, building partnerships in different areas is an opportunity. So people can find neurofeedback providers in their local region, and then building the leadership capacity in conjunction with that work. Understood.
Okay. So if someone were to inquire about your services or just want to connect with you, where can they find you?
They can find me, probably the two best places is my website. My company is called Wellth. And the tagline is building inner richness for global good. So Wellth is WELLTH, implying that wealth comes in many different levels, not just WEALTH. That's a piece of it, but it comes in lots of different levels. So www.wellth.eco, WELLTH.ECO. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn under Jessica Schneider, SCHNEIDER. And my LinkedIn email is Inspiring Possibilities.
Awesome. Jessica, thank you for such an amazing interview. I love everything you shared with us today. I'm inspired. I am motivated, and I've learned so much about you and what you're doing. And I'm pretty sure our audience are happy with this as well. So, and also with our audience, thank you for your ears and your eyeballs. And last but not least, Jessica, how may I serve you?
You serve me with your smile and your grace and your kindness in creating the opportunity for more people to have access to opportunities to find the ways that they can serve and step into their greatest potential. And I love that, and I'm so eternally grateful for that.
Thank you, Jessica. That
Thank
means a
you.
lot. So once again, everyone, make sure to tune in. Please follow Jessica, all right? Follow her on LinkedIn. Go to her website. She's amazing. And you see how passionate she's about her job, about what she does. She's extremely passionate. Follow her, please, all right? Let's make this happen. Make sure to tune in to next week's episode. Cheers.
Thank you so much.